Welcome to our podcast. I'm Jess.
I'm Mandy.
And we are drama bonded. And today we are finally going to talk about the Golden Bachelor.
Finally, you guys. I know we've been like putting it off. But Jess and I kind of had like a sit down and talked about, what we wanted to change to make the podcast a little bit more of like something that just brings us a little bit more happiness, just because we are mostly doing this as a hobby. And so we decided that we just needed the Bachelor portion for this these past episodes to be a little bit more casual and passive and like take it a little less seriously. And honestly, I feel like that's made my watching experience more enjoyable. So on the one hand, I want to apologize that we've kind of just been like, we haven't forgotten about Golden Bachelor. We're going to talk about it.
Well, in a way, I feel like we saved the best for last.
That's true.
My God, did that season absolutely deliver.
And so this episode, we're going to kind of talk about Golden Bachelor as a whole. And then we are going to end with Paradise finale.
Ooh, yeah.
So this is going to be one hell of an episode.
Yeah. So get your candy.
Oh, speaking of candy.
Yeah. We have a review.
This week, we are reviewing Airhead Extremes. I guess I don't really understand what makes them extreme, except that maybe there's the...
Extreme sugar.
Extreme sugar. There you go.
Yeah, because they look like they would be sour, kind of covered in citric acid, but they're not sour.
They're not sour.
At all. And actually, the only reason I even thought to buy these was because I wanted to do my gingerbread house roof with them. And then it turns out they're pretty good.
I will admit that normal Airheads are probably in my top 10 favorite candies. I almost said top 5, but then I took a step back. So being an Airhead lover, I was excited to try these. I will say I think that the candy is good, super easy to eat. I'm a huge like sour belt fan. For me, they're not quite sour enough, and my only disappointment is they don't really taste like Airheads at all.
No, not at all. I don't understand the Airhead thing in the slightest.
But if they weren't Airhead, I'd be like, wow, this is a great sour belt candy.
Yeah, absolutely. I like it just because, like I was telling you off camera or off air, I can pull the whole band out, tilt my head back, and then just slowly lower the whole thing into my mouth, and it like folds up nicely, and I get this big chewy, sugary thing that I get to enjoy for a second.
Yeah, or like roll it into a little ball and then just chew on it. Yum.
Yeah. So you can manipulate it and you get to choose your own adventure on how it goes into your mouth.
That reminds me of Fruit by the Foot.
Oh, yeah.
They used to like tie around my head like a ninja headband. Okay, these aren't as long, but I'm just saying, it has like the same play with your food.
Totally.
Qualities.
It's always too bad. And I guess I did do this with Fruit by the Foot, but like, do you remember that bubble gum that was like 6 feet long?
Yes.
And you could just open it and take a bite out of the whole roll?
Yes. I definitely did that.
I do. I want to do that with Fruit by the Foot, but first you have to like take it all off the wrapper and then you have to re-roll it because it's too sticky. Like otherwise it would stick on itself.
Was that bubblegum tape? Or like, I don't even remember the name of it. Oh my gosh.
Not Fruit by the Foot. That's what we were just talking about. I don't know. I don't remember what that was called.
Wow. Nostalgic. You just took me back to the past. Do you remember how that gum had like a powdery layer on it?
Yeah, that's how it was not sticking onto itself as it's rolled up into 6 feet long.
I can taste that in my mouth right
It
now.
is a very specific gum flavor, to be sure. Yeah. Damn, that's probably going to bug me that I cannot remember what that's called. But
I still appreciate you bringing it up.
Yeah, but also just so that we don't mislead anybody, these Airhead ropes, strips are not that long. They're like 6 inches.
Yeah.
No one get excited.
All right. Golden Bachelor.
Whoa. I know I keep saying it, but initial thoughts, I really love it. I love the idea of it. I enjoyed the contestants. I think that we better get a Golden Bachelorette.
We have to. They'd be stupid not to. And they have to take it out of this pool of women. Like, I'm already so invested in all of them. It has to be one of them.
Ugh. Yeah, I'm not always a believer in production's ability to make the right decision,
Yeah.
but fingers crossed.
I just feel like, I mean, as much as there are certain ladies that I'd be more excited about, I think that it would be pretty great with any of them, to be honest.
I feel the same way. Like, I've got some people that I'm really pulling for. Like, I particularly feel like Leslie definitely is a strong contender for this. But, Ellen,
Ellen, I'm rooting for Ellen.
I just have to say, when I was watching the Women Tell All, which is not something that I normally watch, the Men Tell All, Women Tell All is sometimes the least exciting episode of the whole season.
Hard to get through.
This season, for Golden Bachelor, I was actually excited to watch it, and I'm so glad that I did. And, I think there are a lot of elements that really choked me up, but nothing more than listening to Ellen talk about, was it Henrietta? No.
Roberta.
Like that, I was sobbing and trying
cried.
to roll out cookie dough and like hold my head back so that tears don't go all over everything. Like, what a friendship. 60 years.
I was doing intervals on the trainer and I had to push pause because I couldn't breathe because I was crying so hard.
Cardio and crying is...
Yeah, I was like, I gotta take a break.
Yeah.
I was not expecting to be that. And Jesse, his voice cracked.
I know. Jesse was crying too. Dude, that got me. That was a sucker punch in the feels. I was not prepared for how emotional I was going to be over that. And I think that is one of the amazing things about the Golden Bachelor is that there's so many life experiences. There's so many things to build on that you can't help but feel for these people. And it's been such a treat to be able to bear witness and also feel inspired. Like, they're not invisible. They're knocking boots. They're feeling good. They're having fun. They have so much
energy.
Life. Yeah. It's like, I needed that.
Something else I thought was refreshing at the Women Tell All was it was very obvious to me that all of the women genuinely really respected and cared for each other. And it brought a very different feel to the episode. Whereas normally with the Women or Men Tell All, you kind of go in knowing okay, these people hate each other. These people still have beef. This drama is going to come up.
And so much beef.
A little bit of drama came up when Jesse asked about, what was it? Kathy asked Kathy about the Teresa Zippit stuff. But honestly, I feel like she took accountability. She says it's over. She wants, the best for Teresa. Everything was just handled with so much more grace, maturity, love. I don't know. I just found the whole thing such a positive experience, whereas normally the tell-all is just kind of a slog to get through.
Right. And we've seen both the men and the women behave kind of deplorably on those episodes in the past. And so, yeah, it was so refreshing. And it felt like I got good information. The bloopers were really fun.
Oh, yeah.
Sandra farting.
Oh, and then talking about the gas issues.
Yeah, please. My God. Let's talk about GI problems more. Come on. So good. I'm sorry, Susan. I do think it was probably more likely to be the meatballs. But it's so funny. And you can tell that there's a lot of love between them. And that even though they're kind of going back and forth on what caused it, it's all in such good fun. And I think that can only happen when you've got a group of people who are really, really confident and secure about who they are. And I think that was so fun to watch. Every woman on this show was just good with who she was.
Yeah.
More or less. There might have been, I guess we could talk about the Leslie of it, but even then, they have enough sense of self to not ever need to tear anybody else down, to, I don't know. Yeah, it just, it was a lot of fun.
So I would like to kind of take it back to hometowns because I think we have to kind of gear into the faith conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, so hometowns was Faith, Leslie, and Teresa. Mm-hmm. Gary met their children. Sometimes there was a sibling there as well, and then grandchildren. And I will just say collectively, okay, sorry, backpedal. First, Gary starts the episode by saying he only wants to say I love you one more time to one more person in his life. He's like, that's a really big deal. that's not something I take lightly. Like the next person I say it to, I want that person to be who I spend the rest of my life with. So you're like, okay, yeah. And then what does he do?
Tells all three. Well, no, he only tells two
Doesn't
women.
tell Teresa.
I cannot get over that. Yeah, it tells two women he loves them.
So he tells Leslie and Faith, and he tells Faith in front of Faith's family.
Yeah, and then they're kissing, and that was absolutely just, I mean, out of pocket. Like, Gary, what was that?
It seemed so genuine, so authentic, so in the moment. Like the way he looked at Faith, I was just like, Faith's the one.
Well, and she got the first impression rose.
Yeah. He's always had a thing for her.
Yeah, I wonder what changed.
I don't know if it was because she was like, I don't see myself leaving here. My horses are buried here.
It was in a particularly rural area too, from what I gathered. So like
Yeah.
it definitely would be a
An
big
adjustment.
Yeah, it would be hard to move even from a less populated area to that little of a populated area.
But man, I just felt like there were firecrackers going off between Gary and Faith.
Yeah.
Like the way he looked at her was to me so different than the way he looked at any other woman on the show.
Yeah.
So then at the rose ceremony, sorry, is there anything else we want to mention on hometowns?
Not particularly. I thought it was refreshing to get kind of a different perspective on hometowns rather than like stupid overbearing fathers. We got siblings, grandkids, children.
Very different dynamic.
It was a lot nicer.
I loved Teresa's grandsons making fun of her selfie faces.
Yes, the duck face. So cute.
Oh my god.
Also, Gary handled everybody so well. Like
Yeah.
it was so much less cringy to watch a legitimately adult man go through that than a 20-something-year-old who has no idea.
I was legitimately surprised he told more than one person that he was in love with them.
I still, and we can talk about this further along, like I still don't know what the fuck happened there. That's wild to me. Like Gary.
Yeah.
Gary. And then to tell that to both Faith and Leslie and then wind up with Teresa.
Yeah, so I definitely thought Teresa was going home at that rose ceremony.
Oh, me too, because she said, I love you, and he didn't say it back.
Nothing. Crickets. He's probably said thank you or something. Hugged her. I will say, I'm going to give Gary some credit. There has been so many moments where a woman has shared something with him, and maybe Gary doesn't know what to say, but Gary has this way of making a woman feel so heard and so seen and like pulling them in and physically supporting them or making, I don't know. I can just, I'm saying this in contrast from like the younger bachelors and bachelorettes where men just like awkwardly are like wide-eyed, like shit, I don't know how to respond to you, like sharing all of these emotions with me. Like, I'm going to give Gary credit for really like knowing how to make a woman feel like heard and seen and supported.
Yeah, there's a warmth there that I think he really exudes, and all the women felt that.
And unfortunately, I think that ends up being why some of them are so heartbroken because of that level of love and security they felt with him.
Yeah, it's always a gamble, right? Like, it's hard, right? Because like I don't want to say that that's not authentically who Gary is, but we've all met those people that just will make you feel like you're the most special person in the world, but then they're very good at making everybody feel that way. And so a friend to all is a friend to none kind of thing. But like at the same time, Gary did seem to genuinely feel a lot of things for these women, but who knows? Because man, you guys, like if you watched, strap in. This is like the least of the weirdness.
Yeah, here we go. We're still clicking up the roller coaster we're about to go down on.
Yeah. So no, I don't have anything else.
Well, so then at the Women Tell All, we see the Faith and Gary conversation.
Ooh.
And wow, I felt like their hug lasted for like 5 minutes and they were both already crying. And I was like, well, fuck.
Did Gary make the wrong choice?
Yeah, like
what?
Do you regret this?
I know. And I still can't quite tell. Like, there must have been some sort of larger deal breaker that he just, like an impasse that he wasn't going to be able to work through because, yeah, he still seemed so into her.
I think that like the saddest, and I think this is also true for Leslie, is that you have these women like Faith and Leslie that seems like they have been through the ringer with dating and that they don't end up with the right men and that they've been hurt and that their trust has been broken and that they have like little faith in relationships at this point in their life. And so to me, one of the most devastating parts of this is watching their walls crumble and them embrace Gary and find hope in him and safety and all of these things that they've wanted for who knows how long. And then their kids see it and their siblings see it. And I know that that's still in the long run probably going to help them find someone else, but that has to be like, think about heartbreak in your 20s and then think about heartbreak after everything you've experienced in life.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking about this a lot and like I want to be careful with my words because I don't want to imply that because you've experienced hard things, you're a broken person. But I think that we can see that like Faith and Leslie have been through a lot. These are not people who come into a relationship without baggage. There's complications there and it's tricky. And I feel like also as somebody with a lot of baggage and can be kind of messy and complicated, like my heart goes out to them because I think sometimes people are a little quicker to write you off maybe than they should be just because like you're not an easy person. And part of me has to wonder too if like there wasn't an element of that where Gary made calculated choices because you've got Teresa who lost her husband, he died and she hasn't really dated anybody since. And she had this lovely marriage. They'd known each other since they were 18. Like she sort of comes with this like in a way traditional, easier to swallow, incorporate background, whereas Leslie and Faith don't have that cleanness and all of that. And, and it's totally acceptable for Gary to choose the path that he chose. I'm not saying that he did anything wrong, but my heart goes out to women who I think maybe have pieced themselves back together and don't come quite as clean and refined as maybe somebody like Teresa would.
And now have to piece themselves back together again.
Yeah, it's tough too, especially when we live in a society that values heteronormative marriage, that you do better when you've got a partner. Things are too expensive to do kind of on your own successfully. Like everything is geared toward you being with another person. And so, that's heartbreaking.
I just felt like his conversation with Faith was, you could tell that there was still a lot of mutual love and respect there, but usually that conversation with the second runner-up is not that emotional in the tell-all.
I know. And she was like, "Oh, I'm trying not to touch you." And it's like, because you've got that comfort, that proximity to another person when it is, you just gravitate towards that level of closeness and that for her to still feel that.
Well, and then like Faith and Leslie processing him being like, I meant everything I said in the moment, things just change. Like while validating, that also doesn't make anything easier to recover from.
No, and it's still, and I understand we're not owed explanations, but like it still doesn't entirely make sense to me, like what changed.
Yeah. Okay, so Faith somehow doesn't make it, and we are surprisingly in the finale with Teresa and Leslie.
Yeah.
I have a lot of thoughts.
Okay. Give me your thoughts. Go.
Okay, so immediately on Leslie's date, there's so much chemistry, so much conversation, like he's telling her the right things, and then they go to dinner. Can we just pause and talk about Leslie's sexy gray separates on the dinner date? The like one shoulder ruching with the pants. Wow, she's
got style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She looked phenomenal.
So good.
I did think this was a weird conversation, and I'd like to bring it up where he's like, "You're not asking me any of the hard questions," and she's like, "Okay, when was the last time you had sex?" And he's like, "Well, with someone else or myself," which I felt like was like, duh. And then he didn't even answer. All he said was, "It's been a long time."
Yeah, and like, I have a couple thoughts on this. Part of me with Leslie is like a little heartbroken because, and this is projection, full projection. I have no idea, my opinion. But it feels like when Gary said that to her, similarly, she was the one who did the sexy dance too.
Yes.
At the talent show. And there's part of me that feels like Leslie truly just wanted somebody that she could feel safe with. Like that bar, unfortunately for her, is so low. And not that Gary isn't a good guy, but I think that there was a lot that she was willing to change and contend with just to have a reliable partner, somebody that she didn't have to question. And so I think
till death do you part.
Yeah. And I feel like when she asked that, it was like a knee-jerk reaction of like, well, men like sex. Trying to portray that she's still the cool girl. She's the person that's like, I'm going to be down for whatever. Like, this is all good. And it broke my heart for her because Gary's not wrong in like questioning why she's not asking harder questions. Cause like meshing two lives is difficult no matter what age you're at. And then, yeah, for her to sort of play off a very serious prompt with a more jokey question like that, it was just like, ugh. I don't know. That wasn't the move.
Yeah, and then you wonder like how much of her own like self-worth is maybe unfortunately like wrapped up in that, right?
For sure.
Or like that's how she feels like she adds value to relationships in a way or something. And I'm not minimizing everything else she might feel or know about herself, but I think that's a really interesting point that you brought that up.
It was just really awkward and uncomfortable to watch, and I didn't know how else to process that. Like it was just really such a surprise because I think that there were so many questions she could have asked, and that one felt like a really strange choice.
But isn't that also something you could talk about one-on-one, like in the fantasy suites later when you're in a more intimate setting and maybe you're joking about that kind of thing?
Yeah, 100%. So,
and then they did end up talking about like what meshing their lives together would look like. And she brought up the fact that like all she wants is till death do you part, and that she wants the security in that. And that's never been a reality for her. And so I do feel like she does kind of take it to a little bit more of a vulnerable place. And I feel like we get to the fantasy suites and he is just telling her like, I want to go to bed with you. Like, I want to wake up and have coffee with you. Like, I want you to be my day to day. Like he literally says like, you're it. Well, you're the one.
He told her, he keeps saying that stupid line over and over of like, don't choose the person you can live with. Choose the person you can't live without. And he's like, and that's you.
So if I'm Leslie, I'm like, it's me.
Yeah, 1,000%. It was Leslie. Like there was no doubt.
He's told me he loves me. He tells me I'm the one he can't live without. He tells me I'm the one. Like if I'm Leslie, it's me. And then there was something about the chemistry the next morning when they woke up where the chemistry was different. The body language was different. When they go to leave, she goes in to kiss him and he goes to hug her, but then like realizes she's kissing him and like turns. It was just notably different.
Yeah, it was not Clayton walking away screaming, I love you, for sure.
And it feels so good.
Oh my God. Yeah, it did very much remind me of the Zach and Rachel night of like, what went down?
Yes. And then I feel like the Teresa date is like the opposite, where he goes into the date with Teresa feeling really in his head about like the Leslie stuff and not being as present with her.
I have to commend Teresa here. Like, I would have thrown a fucking coconut at the back of that guy's head. They probably weren't even coconuts, a rock. I don't know. Like, he is being so quiet, so
quiet.
reserved. And she's like, maybe he's just focused on the horse.
She's giving him
I'm like,
so many outs.
Teresa, I'm going to push you off the horse. Like, no, clearly he is distracted. And yeah, so like you're also watching this and it's like, I don't know what that ending was with Leslie, but like he's clearly still in his head about it and not present with Teresa at all.
Yeah. And then, side note, when they were riding horses, a part of me was like, well, good thing Faith taught him how to ride a horse.
Oh my God. I know. Oh.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's totally fair.
Then they go to dinner, and I will say I haven't been like a huge Teresa fan. I don't dislike her. I'm just definitely cheering for other women over Teresa. But then she opens up about her career and everything she's done to get there, and I was so impressed.
Yeah, that really took me by surprise because where I recall leaving Teresa is her and Kathy have that explosion, and Kathy's like, stop telling me all the things. They're fucking standing there at the rose ceremony, and Teresa turns to Kathy and goes, he came to my room. And Kathy's like, what did I say?
Don't tell me things like that.
And like, so you're just like,
Zip it.
Teresa's kind of dumb.
She has no self-awareness.
She's just, and like, I think Nick talked about this on his podcast, that she is definitely got the edit of being like really into Gary and Gary not being into her at all. And then surprise, like not only is Teresa not dumb, she's incredibly successful.
Very capable.
She's very sweet. She's very fun. Like there's so many great things about her that again, it just, we never saw any of that. So it's also unfortunate. Like I hate when the show does this because like I want to root for the people at the end.
Yes.
I don't even care if I wasn't rooting for them the whole time. Give me a reason to.
Yes.
And I did not get that until like this moment, and it was too little. Like it wasn't too little too late. They gave it to me, but like they could have done more.
Yeah, so they go to the fantasy suite, and then the next morning it is like click. Like Gary is a new Gary around Teresa.
Oh yeah, it's like that date one all over again.
Like she knocked his boots off for sure.
Yeah. And good for them.
Like 180. I don't know how she did it in a matter of like 12 hours, but damn, like she hooked that man. And then Gary introduces both of them to his daughters and granddaughters.
Yeah. And I feel like that also did not help Leslie, weirdly.
Okay, my question is, it seems like at this point he's pretty sure that it's definitely Teresa. Why have Leslie meet your kids?
Yeah.
Like, why?
I agree. I don't even know. I mean, I guess because, right, you can't. I suspect, and I guess we have to give a little bit of grace to the leads in that they probably do feel like they have to follow the formula of the show and that they can't just like end things too soon.
Yeah.
There is, at least it feels as though they have almost a contractual obligation to carry this out until the end, which, yeah, that was not great. And like Leslie is very aware. And she knew.
Oh my God. As soon as they were sitting on the bench after meeting his family, and he's just like, so
I gotta
go. Like, see you later. And she's just like blinking at him. Like, oh my God. The ick in my body.
Same. Ugh.
Ah!
It really is the ick. This is what the ick describes, is that moment where a guy out of nowhere just decides to drop you like a hot potato and is such an asshole about it.
Like he can't look at her.
And just is like, no, things are fine.
Oh my God.
Own your bullshit.
Own your bullshit.
God, Gary.
Oh, so
Dude.
Then they have the night portion of the date.
Yeah. That was excruciating.
So at one point, and this is before he leaves and comes back. So before he leaves and comes back, it's just off. You can tell. I think she's scrambling and she tells him, like, he's about to leave and she's like, I love you so much. Or like something like that.
Yeah.
And she's looking at him for that like validation, like, tell me you love me. Like, I know you love me. You've told me you love me. I know I'm the one. Like, why are you being so weird? And he just says, like, thank you. That means so much to me or
And
something.
I've got a hard decision.
Yeah. And you can
Ugh.
tell right then she knows.
She knows.
She knows. And they're like kind of just awkwardly figuring out what to do in this interaction. And he says something to her like, be happy.
Ugh. Yeah, the dancing around this was
It was so terrible.
well, and then he just went outside and sat on the porch and cried. And I'm so glad he got back up and went in there.
I am too.
Because if he had had her put on that dress and walk down to the beach or wherever it was, the cliffside, like
where she thought that she'd be getting proposed to. Did she say her dress cost $60,000?
yeah, I read some stuff on that. That dress through customizations could end up costing $60,000. And once you reach the final two like that, you are styled by Carrie. I can't remember his name. So like, I think she was just kind of going on about the fact that like she was so confident that she like picked out the most extravagant gown. Like she was ready for all of that. And I don't know if the dress actually fully was 60,000.
Because I was like, skirt, what? So yeah, then he finally is honest with her. And it like, she is annihilated.
Yeah. That is, I think, overall one of my least favorite things about watching this show generally is when that happens to people. Like it is just, and you know, there is something to be said for bearing witness to somebody's pain. And I think that humanizes us, but it also is just, it's a lot. It's a lot for me. I internalize that a lot.
I will say that I appreciated that she was just very candid with how broken she was feeling and how blindsided she felt. And I feel like a lot of times in these runner-up moments on The Bachelor, like we don't have the time or the conversation of like actually being able to know what's in their heart in that moment. And man, Leslie she put it out there and she was brutally honest, and my heart was so heavy for her, but I'm really appreciative of how honest she was in that moment.
Me too. And it was, man, she did not back down either.
She did not hold back.
No, that was, and I feel like that is also something that comes with age and confidence. And I like one of the harder things to watch younger people experience this is sort of the retreating that they do of like maybe if they think that they behave a certain way that there's like a different outcome that can happen. And she just was like, nope, I don't know anybody's shit. And I am just going to say exactly how I feel. And that was raw.
Yeah, she held his feet to the fire.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think like it's not enjoyable to watch, but I just was like, of course you're heartbroken. Like, how can you not be? Also, he told you were the one. You were the one he couldn't live without. He loved you. Like, of course that you felt this way and you're blindsided.
Dude, I still can't wrap my head around if Gary just like what? Just got too caught up in being the lead and exploring everything compartmentalized and didn't think that like this would like I don't really understand how he managed to do this to
I don't understand that either.
Faith and Leslie. Like, I just can't grasp how he could have. And he's saying that he was being honest in those moments, but he did mislead them. Like, I'm sorry. I just don't understand. Like, then they need more explanation. I need more explanation about what changed. How did this all flip so suddenly? And how did you go from, declaring your love and saying you're the one to picking the person you didn't even say, I love you back to initially?
I do think he was being honest when he said those things. Like, I don't think he was lying. My interpretation of this is that in these moments, Gary is able to be selfish and be totally just like thinking of himself and his heart. And he isn't keeping in mind how the outcome of this is going to destroy someone. Like, he's just caught up in the moment.
Yep.
He's feeling his feels. He's able to like put blinders on and just see that person. And then because like you said, compartmentalizing, do that with someone else. But I do think that like knowing myself, I would always be thinking about the other people and just be like kind of allowing that to dictate the way I interacted with people. And it seems like Gary selfishly is able to just only consider him and maybe that other person in the moment and not consider the other people.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That I buy that. I yeah, otherwise like I just have no idea. Like I'm really shocked.
It's hard for me to relate to that because I'm so not that person.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. I can do very little without recognizing the impact that it has on the people around me.
Yeah, so it's so hard to relate to and kind of hard to watch. But I do think he meant what he said in the moments. I just think he was kind of sloppy and he wasn't considering everything at play.
Right. Like even if you do love somebody, maybe you just don't tell them that, because if you know you're not choosing them, then don't set them up to feel that heartbroken by the whole thing.
Well, we've talked about this before, but up until like Ben's season of The Bachelor, the second Ben, not the first Ben, like none of the leads ever said I love you until they proposed. Like ever. Like people would tell them and then they would say like thank you, or they would kiss them, but you never heard the lead say I love you back until they were proposing or getting proposed to.
Yeah.
So now the show has changed so much to where the point like say it kind of seems like they just say I love you to the top 2 or 3 people and it's like taboo, but it's more acceptable now. And that's an interesting transition, that it's just become like more of a casual thing to say that.
Yeah, that's messy and potentially very hurtful to people.
Well, it kind of minimizes the word love.
Right. I love you, but I'm not in love with you.
I'm falling in love with you, but I'm not in love with you yet.
Mm-hmm. Some deniability. Yeah, that was brutal. Jesus Christ, Gary.
And then he's engaged.
Yeah.
Him and Teresa are pretty cute together.
They are, and I wish them nothing but the best.
Yeah.
I want to say there have been some less than flattering things that
Golden
have been
rumors.
Yeah. Gary, believe it or not, is a human being who's had a very messy life.
A long and messy life because he's in his 70s.
Totes. And yeah, a previous, he tried to pull the shit of like, well, I don't know what's considered a relationship.
Bullshit.
As an excuse for like dismissing women and their emotions. And grief is messy. Gary has definitely dated women since his wife's passing.
Yeah, he hasn't just been home alone.
No, yeah, and he's had sex probably more recently than Leslie.
That's why he just said it's been a long time.
Yeah, by whose standards?
Jess and I were talking about this and because these rumors came out, and I was like, there's something about The Bachelor and how they feel like they have to candy coat everything and make people seem like the most beautiful, perfect versions of themselves. And they hesitate to show flaws and talk about ugly truths and like have harder conversations. I feel like The Bachelor is kind of like the Disney version of reality television.
Yes, and it does nobody any favors.
No.
Because like, of course, all these young kids that come on here are garbage because we all are in our early 20s. Yeah. And like Gary has lived a very messy life. And I recognize too, I guess with the caveat of like producers probably tried to really sell this version of this heartbroken widow who's never had sex with anybody but his wife. And, I get that happened, but it really is just such a bubble burster then when reality does sink in or, creep into the narrative. And the show doesn't do any leads any favors by trying to hide stuff. And I'm not saying you have to air dirty laundry, but it would be so much more relatable if Gary was like, I tried dating after, was it Tony? After Tony died, grief made it very difficult. It was hard to figure out what I was even looking for in a relationship while I was grieving my wife and also experiencing extreme loneliness.
That makes him more relatable and human.
Absolutely. And like, of course, you are going to end up hurting people. And especially when you're having a hard time grieving something, you are just not the best version of yourself. You're not. And I think there's room for grace there, but you have to be willing to admit that and be open about the hurt that you did cause people while you were grieving. Like, you don't get to just brush it under the rug, which is what Gary is trying to do. He's being coached to say, well, I don't want to focus on that right now. Well, let's ask Carolyn how she feels about that.
Yeah, and like in past seasons, exes have come out of the woodwork, and whether it's to feel heard for something like some trauma that they went through that's associated with someone on TV, or whether it's to like fuck over the person that they're trying to bring the truth to light or whatever. This has happened before. And are we surprised that it's happening with a man in his 70s who's been single for a while? Like, I'm not.
No, not at all. And so like, don't sell us some Disney narrative here when the truth would actually be more compelling anyway. Let it be messy. Life is messy.
Yeah.
Especially when you're that age. Yeah. So I just feel like they kind of did Teresa a disservice. They honestly did Gary a disservice. And Gary didn't do himself a lot of favors.
I don't know how I feel about Gary, to be honest. Like, I thought that he was a nice guy and he has a sad story, and I feel like he's a good communicator and he seems genuine in a lot of ways. But some of just in kind of the careless way he handled these women's hearts, it bummed me out. It made me sad.
Yeah, it really bummed me out too. It, like, in that light, it's like, oof, I don't ever want to have to date again. That's not fun.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. Yeah. I'm not exactly the biggest fan of Jerry.
Gary. Jerry.
You know why I'm so confused by this? Is because isn't there like a whole thing in Parks and Rec where it's actually like they call him Jerry, but his real name is Gary or something to that effect?
I didn't watch Parks and Rec.
Oh, I couldn't get it right for so long. And then I appreciated the women also like literally on the show being like, Gary, Jerry, Gary. It's Gary.
I just remember because I decided to sing the Music Man song, Gary, Indiana, and that's how I remember.
Okay. I really just want to say I admire your ability to sing a little tune. You're not tone deaf.
I would like to transition into Paradise by kind of talking about just the things we liked and disliked about Golden Bachelor versus Paradise. I know a lot of people have loved Golden Bachelor, and because it's been running at the same time as Paradise, I think Paradise has kind of taken second place, at least from what I'm hearing overall. Golden Bachelor has been very positively received, and it's been like a breath of fresh air. The show's doing something different. It's been wholesome and so emotional, and we loved all the women, whereas like it seems like there's been some frustration with Paradise because a lot of weird new cast members that have been eliminated on night one. There's been some criticism on like who was on the cast and who wasn't. I would just like to kind of transition into Paradise talking about that.
Yeah. Paradise has not been popular this season,
which I liked this season.
Me too.
So I'm kind of surprised by that.
I had a conversation with Appy over this. He was saying how much he hated Paradise, and I was like, "Oh man, like I don't feel like my take is usually so hot. Like I'm a pretty basic bitch. I like what most people like. Like I'm not everything, but like for stuff like this, I was like, am I really missing something?" And I told him that. I'm like, man, you're somebody who like I kind of gauge my opinion on. And if like I'm not usually so far off the mark from like where you're at in these things, his take on this was that it took way too long to pick up steam, that the episodes were too long, not enough was happening immediately. So like the meteor stuff just was sort of, you were strung along too long. And that I can kind of see. And so that's one opinion that I heard. But yeah, generally, I have heard the same critique. And yet, I loved this season.
I loved this
it gave
season
and gave
too.
and gave. And I wonder, because you brought that up of the juxtaposition of the two shows, and if like the problem is Golden Bachelor's so good that while people are watching that and Bachelor in Paradise, the two compared don't work. And I have to wonder, is it because people want like love stories for the ages to come out of these shows? Like, I mean, you guys, it's reality TV. Like, what do you want? What do you want from Bachelor in Paradise if not the messiness of really attractive people?
Well, Paradise is my favorite because it's the most messy.
I also feel like it's the most honest, kind of raw, like people are really going for it and we get out of the purity bullshit. We're not dealing with like any one person having too overinflated ego, more or less. Like they'll get in Paradise, if anybody has that, it's gone in a second. And I love that. Nothing like a chair getting kicked out from under you. And you know, I don't know. I'm with you. I thought it was really great. Tragically, no couples made it.
Yeah,
not a one.
We'll talk about that. But like, I just thought the season was packed. I mean, I do share some frustration with like there were some people that came down on the beach that I'm like, who the fuck is this person and why do I care about them?
Taylor?
Yeah, Taylor, who thought his name was Tanner when Jess said Tanner. Wow, that was a huge ick moment. But
Becca also just like coming in there
and then leaving.
And then just like booking it out of there. Sam.
Like, I don't know if we would have cared about Sam if she didn't have the poop story. I thought she was very pretty, but like, I'm just saying, would we remember Sam?
I also just want to say this out loud and for women everywhere. It is so hard to look ripped like that as a woman.
Yes.
Like, Mandy and I are into fitness. We know how to eat well. We know how to exercise. I know how to be lean, but to be that lean and have perpetual abs, even when you have not pooped for 10
she had a
days,
six-pack.
That is bananas. And that's just, she is a unicorn. That is not how
I would have remembered her for that.
Yeah. Like, don't ever let that be the standard for you because that is a hard body to achieve.
But, you know, good work, Sam.
Totally.
Way to commit. I'm happy we got Olivia out of it. I found like Olivia to be such a charming narrator.
Olivia was a true treasure. And I was really sad Olivia went home night one on Zach's season because she was also really into shoes. And she just is fun and spunky in a way that I think a lot of contestants aren't. They can be very bland and sort of just going along with like, I don't know, everybody's got like the standard beauty routine. And then there's Olivia who is like sassy. Her style's really fun. She's wearing sneakers. Like
calling it what it is.
Yes. Olivia was fantastic this season.
I'm trying to think of who else. Well, let's just get into the finale, shall we?
Yeah. Let's do it.
So I'm trying to think of her. Okay. Well, so Blake and Jess, Blake left. We already know that. So we're kind of left with Tanner mentioning he's interested in Jess, and Jess is still distraught over Blake. And eventually they just have a conversation where she is just sad and it's like, I want to go home. And Tanner's like trying to be like, my best conversations have been with you. And she's like, I just want to go home.
Well, I don't care.
Like, oh God, it was kind of hard to watch.
Yeah, Jess,
she needed to go home.
And she needs to grow up.
Go home and grow up. You're still cute and sparkly.
Yeah, and will be cute and sparkly for your whole life. But like, spend some time with yourself and figure out what you want out of things. Like,
and stop thinking that everything that you're doing for yourself makes you a bad person.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a hard way to live.
It is. That's not healthy. Therapy. Talk to Mercedes. She's been in therapy working on herself. Like, come on. You've got women around you too that like are doing the things that should be done before you enter into a long-term relationship.
Yes.
Glad Jess went. Yep, that needed to happen. Tanner is just such...
I really liked him on Charity's season, and I will say he has left me disappointed on the beach.
He's such a nothing burger.
He has a nothing burger. He has like no passion or charisma or drive or like he's not like Not saying that the men always have to chase, but I'm like, are you even interested in any of these women?
Yeah, he is definitely one of those guys that gives off the vibes of like he's just there because he wants to hang out with the dudes and is like if, women throw themselves at him, that's a bonus. Like
Which I'm sure they do because he's attractive.
right, but he's that guy that's just dangling a carrot and then giving nothing.
Yeah, whatever, Tanner. I was very unimpressed.
Me too. Did Brayden shoot his shot in the finale too, or am I mixing up episodes?
No, Brayden went home last week.
That's
because
right.
Rachel left.
That's right. Okay. Yeah.
So I know Kenny and Mari come down. Do Mercedes and Jordan leave before or after the wedding? It doesn't matter. Mercedes and Jordan, got his rose from Mercedes.
I think it was before the wedding.
Okay.
Because I also got the vibe that Avon was really bummed that Tyler left and just like instantly started checking out.
That's probably so true.
Knowing what we know, you guys, you probably didn't hear first, but
wait. We can't go there yet.
Okay, we can't. I have hot take.
Okay, not yet.
Okay. Yeah, Mari and Kenny.
I don't know why we have to do this. It's almost like the show proving like this does work and true love does come out of this show, so we're gonna have a wedding.
And it kills me when people like Kenny and Mari come down and talk aspirationally about the process working and getting married and don't be so afraid. And it's like, okay, but also like marriage is kind of a big deal. So like,
Also, this couldn't be their real wedding, right? Because none of their friends and family was there. It was just the cast, which was crazy to me.
They played it off really coyly on Instagram, making it seem like they did in fact get married by Jesse and that they had been married for 6 months before they went to Puerto Rico and got married.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. But like, honestly, who knows?
It just seemed performative. It didn't really seem like Carly and Evan, I think, got married on Paradise, and their
R.I.P.
friends and family, like Bachelor alumni, like it was an actual wedding where I was like, okay, they got married in Paradise.
Right, because Blake coming back to be Kenny's best man, that's just because Blake and Kenny have met.
And then I'm sure because Kylie was like, don't leave, they're like, let's bring Blake back and make a weird thing out of this thing that's not even a thing.
Right, Blake coming back, and Kylie was like, Blake is here. Blake is here. And you're like, why are we doing this? This is so fucking bizarre.
It was very bizarre.
I don't understand.
Okay, so we do the wedding, and then they have like a rave after party, which...
Not a rave.
It's not a rave, and also that's a weird after party theme.
For a wedding, but okay. I had to laugh. At what point did Mari and Kenny talk to Avon?
It was like
John
after
Henry,
the wedding,
but before the
party. So now we can get into the Kylie and Avon of it all.
Avon,
boo,
dude,
fuck
that guy. I know, it's just gotten worse and worse.
I used to like him a lot.
Yeah, like I was genuinely like, Rachel fucked up. Not anymore. Rachel dodged a bullet. Avon. Kind of like, I get it. Manny and I talk about it. When you come on the show, like it shouldn't have to end in an engagement. However, the show does. The show perpetuates the notion that in order for this to be successful, you leave engaged.
That's what it is.
I do not understand dudes coming on this show and being like, I'm not going to get engaged. Then don't fucking come on a show where the end is an engagement. Stop coming on reality TV. Pick a different show.
Yeah, there's a lot of reality TV shows that don't involve an engagement where you can also win money.
And be hot. Yeah.
Like why this show?
Yeah, and I hate that it puts women in this position.
It makes them look desperate.
It does. And like, fuck society for making women feel desperate for wanting something that society says you should want.
Yep.
That this is the marker of a successful person. Is that like, supposedly for women, the biggest day of your life is the day you get married. And like, that's fucked. That shouldn't be the case. But it is the case.
But it is.
So don't sit here and then trash women for wanting to have that.
Amen.
And it made me so mad on her behalf. And like, I'll even give it to Avon. Yeah, it's wild that you would go onto a show and know somebody for a short period of time and get engaged. However, again, That's what we do. Avon, knock it off.
But also, it's not like Avon was like eliminated halfway through Gabby and Rachel's season.
He was top 3.
He was top 3. He had the same conversation with Rachel. He's already been faced with this before. So you think if he were like taking this seriously, it's like, do I want to be in that situation again? Like, do I see myself being in a different place in life? I guess he just thought he was going to go down to Mexico, meet hot Kylie, and like hang out with his bros.
Yeah, and that after Tyler left and he was like annoyed talking to Kenny and Mari, and he's like, why does it always have to be about a stupid ring? Because that's literally what the show is about, my dude. So like I was annoyed by his bad attitude, and then every time that Kylie tried to bring it up, he just was getting huffy and refused to give her any sort of like acknowledgement that might ease her fears or concerns. And spoiler, she had every right to be concerned.
Yeah.
And I mean, in fairness, good that she dodged a bullet, but like, I hate that it makes her look crazy, or not, excuse me, not crazy, but look like, yeah, desperate.
It was also hard for me because like when she would be talking with Mercedes or Kat about it, like she would be coming from this place of like, I'm not gonna walk away and not stick to my guns. Like I'm gonna walk into this and I'm gonna leave with or without what I wanted, and I'm not going to give desperate. Like she had this strength when she's having these conversations about like, this is not the position I want to be in, but I'm not gonna compromise. This is really important to me. And then she compromised. And I don't know, as much as I hate the engagement part too, my frustration was more so that she left being the one doing all of the compromising. And I felt like she really kind of like lost a part of herself that she was like trying to cling on to.
Yeah, that always kills me. Yeah, I hated that. I really hated that. I hate the position that men have all the power.
Yes,
that
women are always compromising for the men.
Yeah, and then
men are in charge. Men are making the decisions. Follow the man.
And then also this weird idea that like, what is wrong with these guys not wanting to get married? I mean, granted, I think actually there are lots of reasons for not wanting to, but I have yet to hear them articulate a single one, like not one. What I gather from them is that they just want to be fuckboys, and fine.
Yes.
Do that. Pick a different show. Stop leading these women on. Do something different. Go be a fuckboy on your own time.
Well, because Kylie's reasoning was, you're the one. So if it's not now, like when is it going to be? And he didn't really have any responses that were adequate in response to her reasoning for wanting to get engaged.
Yeah. Yeah, and just the way that he talked to her felt really, I didn't like it.
Yeah, he was downplaying her emotions for sure. So they leave together, not engaged. Kylie looks sad. He's reassuring her that he's going to do everything in his power to preserve their relationship and it's going to work out. And then,
you guys, this episode ends. They don't post anything after, which is weird because the show had said they're a couple together, it paid off. 24 hours or so passes. They post professional photos of themselves. They are happy. Then less than 24 hours later, again, Kylie posts that Avon has been unfaithful and
multiple infidelities.
And thank God she found out when she found out. And then the next day, Avon posts and is just like, "Whoa, I'm having a really hard time. Way to make it about you, buddy." And what a piece of shit. So, like, clearly, Avon just wants his cake. I think sometimes these guys go on here, and I'm not saying that the women don't have a version of this, but this seems to be particular to men. They get really big heads about themselves.
And then they go to all of these like fan events where women think they're hot, and they, these bar meetups, and it's just like,
yeah, if I had to guess, I would say they are probably sleeping around a lot.
So, it's sad that Kylie didn't get engaged like she wanted to, but also it's, I guess, thank goodness.
Yeah, and the thing that I want to point out is, like, honestly, it's not like these guys have to pay for the engagement ring. You just give it back. So even then, breaking off an engagement, while yes, not ideal and perhaps embarrassing, so is life. It's not like, why not just get engaged? And then if it doesn't work out, give the ring back. Like, it's not even a hard thing. But they didn't do it. So poor Kylie. She was such a hot commodity on this beach, too. Like, every guy, I swear, that came
Into
down was
Kylie.
like into Kylie.
Yeah.
She
had like, I said this before, but I think it was Amanda on Nick's podcast that was like, she has like head cheerleader energy where she just kind of like knows that everyone's into her. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, but she's got the guy she's going steady with. Like,
Yeah,
she's
like,
got her boo.
Yeah, she's got her quarterback. She's not looking around.
Ugh, that was tragic. That just really bummed me out to have that all play out that way.
Yeah, and then we have a couple like smaller couple. I'm saying smaller just in the fact that like couples that are like, are they going to make it? No.
Dude, can we talk about Peter and Sam?
Yeah, let's talk about Pete and Sam and then Michael and Olivia.
Love it. I was shocked that I felt bad for Peter. I was like, oh, he was like actually into this.
He was. I will say,
she's just like, no, not for me.
I'm not surprised. That was her response. I'm more surprised that Peter was like, I can see this
Me too.
going somewhere. Like, I can see a future with you outside of this. I would love to like try a night at the fantasy suites. And she's just like, no, we should end this now.
Brutal. I admire her for that honesty, though, that she was just like, nope, not even going to dick around with this any longer. And like, I don't know, Peter really surprised me that like, 'cause I really got the vibe that like neither one of them were into it. But like, if you could tolerate each other and have fun, like,
Yeah,
why
just hang
not
out on
just
the
hang?
beach with your friends.
I get that.
Have the security of a rose if you're not like super into someone else.
Yeah. And they were both, I think, a lot closer in age than everybody else because they were in their like mid 30s, whereas everybody else is still like mid to late 20s. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, that really just kind of shocked me. It was a little sad for Peter. Wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah, him talking about how he went to 12 weddings last summer and he wants one of them to be his. Like,
Oh.
I don't love Peter as a character, but I do think there is a thing where maybe in some of these relationships like we just talked about, because they're so secure with each other, there's a lack of conversation around like, where do we see this going? And they're kind of like one person's writing it out while the other person's just like silently invested.
Yep.
So I think that's what happened.
Yep. I think so too. And then Michael and Olivia.
Okay, as much as I love Olivia, my girl, I think Olivia is a pick-me girl. I think she tends to kind of like fall hard for whoever just like is in front of her at the right time. I still really love her and I think she's so smart and witty and authentic, but I think she has a little maturing to do.
Yeah.
And it just bummed me out that she was so just like willing to go the next step with Michael when they had such little time together and put herself in a position to be rejected like that.
I know. And that was kind of, they were talking and he was in the middle of saying something kind of nice and she like jumped in there and gave him this really big kiss. And I was like, whew, that wasn't the vibe of that moment. I think you misread that a little bit. And then, so like, I kind of knew from that moment forward, I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if she's like picking up on things like signs that she needs to be picking up on. I'm not saying that you have to read between the lines, but maybe just like ask more questions.
Yeah, I think that, ooh, hit my headphones. I think that is always one of the things that bums me out about this show is like, man, all these problems could be solved if you guys just would like fucking talk.
Yeah.
Good communication goes a long way.
I mean, I know that you maybe only know this person for like a week or 2 weeks, and so it feels like, it's kind of crazy that I'd be asking this person this thing. But if you're like gonna get to this point on the show where it's like, oh, we're gonna go to the fantasy suites and decide if we like see a life outside of this together, then I feel like this is so accelerated. You need to be more comfortable having conversations earlier on.
Yeah, I find that is always such a weird space of tension that these contestants exist in, especially with Bachelor in Paradise. It's like, you guys, the premise of the show is in fact to meet someone and get engaged by the end of it. Why are we pretending and trying to play it cool and coy and chill that like, no, have the hard conversations. Like, just get it out in the open now. Like, I don't know. I don't understand. Yeah, why would you not ask these questions? It's weird to me. And then, yeah, to suddenly be faced with an even bigger decision and be blindsided by the other person's response.
Yeah.
And like,
It's hard to watch.
I always appreciate when people are honest before going to fantasy suites. Like, props for just laying it out there now, but also, where was this conversation like 3 days ago?
Yeah. You know what's coming.
Yeah. So people dropped like flies.
Yeah.
So we wound up with John Henry and Kat.
Eliza and Aaron.
And that's it. That was who was left.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like, I don't know, was there anything about any of those dates that were notable to you?
Well, I think Kat and John Henry, like she opened up a lot about her past and
She
like her
did.
family background and how she like left home when she was 17 and moved into a group home. And as much as Kat has been controversial and problematic this season, like hearing this humanized her so much and kind of like made her more relatable, and it was so refreshing to hear her be vulnerable. And then I felt like the way that John Henry accepted it was just really beautiful.
I really got to hand it to John Henry for seeing people in front of him.
Yeah.
Like, that really was a very tender moment, and I appreciate it.
And the way he, instead of just saying how beautiful that she was, like saying, my favorite things about you are the fact that you're always the first one to be there for your friends when they need you. Like, I thought in a way he really saw her in a very unique, special way. And I was like, okay, he really does care about her. It's not just about like chemistry, infatuation, and good makeouts.
Well, yeah, and then him complimenting her dancing.
Oh my gosh, when he said these heart glasses are my real eyes.
Oh, so sweet. I loved that. That was adorable.
And so as much as I was like, they cannot get engaged last week, I will say I was kind of like backpedaling a little bit and being like, damn, they're cute. I think that they really like each other for really good reasons. I still don't know if they should get engaged, but I was kind of like more of a cheerleader this week for them than I was last week.
Oh, for sure. Watching them stand there, her in her beautiful brown dress and him standing there, man, everybody is always so sweaty.
So sweaty.
And like, I was thinking about this. I'm like, I am that person who gets sweaty when I get nervous. Hugely. And then you add humidity into that. Like, I don't know how all of these people stand there looking so composed the way that they do. I mean, my face would be bright red.
Yes.
I mean, I would be like having to put on a sweatband on my forehead and my arms to just like
pretty dress.
Prevent sweat from getting everywhere. Yeah, like
I just carry around with little hand fans.
Yeah, it is so hot and so uncomfortable. And just watching him sweat, I was like, oh, every season it's so hot and uncomfortable down there.
So they get engaged.
And about an hour before you came over today, the news broke that they are not together anymore. They said that their career goals didn't align. She's a nurse, yeah?
I don't remember what she worked
does. She was the one who
Oh yeah, there's a lot of nurses on Zach's season.
There are a lot of nurses. She was the one who was really big into SPF, I thought.
I think she's a dermatologist nurse.
Yeah, and he does underwater welding.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not exactly sure how those things don't mesh, but maybe that was just a much more politically not correct way, but a more PR friendly way of ending a relationship than saying Mandy was right. These two people have nothing in common. This is not going to work.
And when they got engaged, I was like, maybe I do want them to work. Like maybe it'd be like so cool if they surprised me. You know, maybe they are the opposites attract and they complement each other in the right ways. But so after the show ended, I went on their Instagrams and I was like, why are they not posting any pictures of each other? And that was kind of like a red flag to me.
That was a red flag. They had posted images in their stories.
Oh, okay. I didn't
immediately after. But that's still a weird move because typically the correct move is you make a timeline post of ridiculous pictures of yourself from the last like 3 months because you had to have a really secret relationship. And so then you get to dump all of that.
Yeah, and show how happy you are and tra-la-la.
Dude, we never got to talk about this because we didn't cover Clayton's season. Clayton ending up with Susie. weird. But one of the videos that they posted, because Susie was into like MMA or something like martial arts, she posted Jitsu. Okay. She posted in like a reel of many photos, her straddling a shirtless Clayton, choking him. And it was epic. I remember like that image flashing before my eyes and having to watch like 5 times until my thumb could hit pause on the right time. So like I am expecting that, level of like, I want to see your guys' absurdity. And there was none of that. So yeah, that I think I really wanted them to work. It didn't. So.
I mean, they sold it. Like I was really like, I was super critical. And in the end, I was like, I don't know, maybe I'm rooting for it now.
Oh no, you were right.
I will say, I think John Henry is probably one of the most attractive men who has been on the Bachelor. I don't know if he's maybe like the most charismatic or, well-spoken, but damn, I could look at that man for a while.
But I think that almost adds to his attractiveness because he seems like a normal, cool dude that you would like spend time with in the real world. And then, there's the folklore of like, what did he do with that vibrating tongue piercing?
Also, I have like a huge crush on his tattoo. I find, I don't know, I can't stop staring at his tattoo. It's so cool.
No, men with tattoos are hot.
And especially like well done tattoos. Just wow, he's just a mysterious underwater man with a vibrating tongue ring.
He's the one who also saw like one movie in his whole life, supposedly.
I forgot about that.
You are welcome.
What is the movie?
I'll message him. Maybe we can get him to come on the podcast.
I would love that.
Okay, I'm on it.
Okay. So then the last couple we're going to cover is Aaron and Eliza, which they also broke up.
Yep. Well, they have not put out an official statement yet.
Not official, sorry.
But the show did say, they're broken up. I mean, basically, the show did say at the end that they are experiencing some turmoil, and then the biggest red flag with everybody else is there is literally no photos or like there's not even any mention of the show on their pages. And like you guys, you have to monetize that. Like if you are successful coming out of the show, you are absolutely sharing that. In part, I think there's like contractual things. Like you really do have to sell this, and the fact that they never felt long for this world as a couple anyway.
When he was like so dead set on getting engaged and she was so unsure and she was like, I only want to do this once. Like, I don't know. I was just like, don't do it. And I don't think you're ever like 100% sure in those moments, but like you should be more sure than she was.
Yeah. She was the one last year who, when Aaron and Genevieve were fighting, she was like really romanticizing that toxicity of like, oh, they really love each other when they're screaming like that. And I was like, whoop, nope, red flag. Please go to therapy. So and not to say that somebody can't change in a year. You absolutely can. But it just feels like that's another instance of like, maybe you just need more time to yourself and to figure out what you want. And like, I don't know. It didn't, she felt too unsure. She felt very gun shy after everything happened last year, which is like another reason not to rush anything.
Yeah. In their steam room date, there was a moment at dinner where Aaron was like, I am totally in love with you. Like, I see you as my future. And her response to it is something like, I'm falling for you too. And you can totally see in Aaron's face that is not what he expected her to say. Like, falling for you and so in love are very different.
Right. And this isn't The Bachelor. You don't need to like play it coy. You guys are just dating each other. You can say you love each other whenever you feel like it. And the fact that she didn't, was not great.
So then she says it the morning after their overnight. She's still saying she's unsure about the engagement. He says that like he's definitely gonna propose, la la la. And so as she's walking down, she's like, I'm still not sure. I'm gonna just wait and see how I feel. And I'm like, oh my God, like
But also I have to point out how manipulative that is on Aaron's part.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about
her
this
in that position.
Like if you know the person that you want to be with doesn't feel that way, proposing in a public space to ensure a yes is not a good move.
Mm-mm.
Like, what was she supposed to say in that moment? You know, like, I don't feel like that set her up to be able to really speak her truth. She should have. If she really wanted to say no, she should have said no. She shouldn't have gone down. I don't know. I'm not saying that it's all on her, but just from this perspective of like looking at what Aaron was doing with the information he had, like, dude, dirtbag move.
Just leave together.
Yeah, then don't get engaged.
So he calls her mom. That makes her emotional.
Ugh.
She says, yes. Something that I did note that bothered me was when Aaron was proposing to her, the only things he said about why he was in love with her were about her being beautiful. It was like, you're beautiful. You have a beautiful smile. Like
women are more than how we look.
It was like you have your skin, you're beautiful, and your smile. And I was like, you said nothing of substance.
Not a thing. Yeah, there's so many perpetual red flags. Like every time I think like, oh, maybe Aaron's not, I'm just reminded like, oh, right. Yep. No, not it.
Like, man, we've tried, but you're not giving us anything to go off.
No, at every turn, this guy is not getting it right. Like, buddy, stop coming on this show. I'm done with you. Please go sort your shit out. Go talk to your girlfriends.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of
I guess there were no success stories this season. Well, Brayden's dating Christina, toxic Christina from Zach's season. So who knows? Maybe they'll have an everlasting love. That is a weird combination to me.
Listen, and I know we really sang Brayden's praises last episode, and I maintain that. He had a really good run. He really turned his reputation around. I feel like he spoke to key things. The Christina thing is
not a good look.
No, she's
not a fan.
Not a nice person. She seems like not a nice person. And also, like, Brayden, you're really going to step in and be a stepfather? Like, I just don't see that level of maturity from that guy right now. And I worry anytime you have a kid involved, Brayden, you better be like, I don't know.
Wishing them the best.
Yeah. Again, like I think you feel this way. Like, I never want any of these couples to fail. I'm never like, no. It's like, yeah, if this is your jam, then like, let's go for it. I want people to be happy. But sometimes when you have space and you can look at things, you're just like, this is not it, but good luck.
I was secretly hoping that like Brayden and Rachel would have just fallen in love after the show.
Me too. I really wanted that reconnection, the rekindling. Come on, you do.
They would have rekindled their pinata love for each other and just been painting each other's bodies ever since.
Rachel being so stunningly beautiful, covered in finger paint, will probably live rent-free in my head for the rest of my life.
That's a hard look to pull off.
Like, damn. I just can't get it out of my head. Anyway. Brayden. That's the only relationship right now out of...
Yeah.
It's just like a major crash and burn for everybody else. Still fun, though.
You guys, I loved the season. I don't know.
This is what you want out of a Bachelor in Paradise season, because we have seen the seasons where everybody couples off, and it's just not exciting.
Not fun to watch.
I do feel like for all of the tension, the back and forth of like, oh, she's homie hopping or, whatever. That is what you were supposed to do on this show. And I feel like
shoot your shot.
Shoot your shot. And this cast did that. They delivered. Even if the casting itself wasn't the best because of too many first night send homes coming in, they really all did embrace the process in a way that like I could not ask for more.
Same. I liked it.
Yeah, it's going to be for...
They do another season of Golden Bachelorette. I just hope that they stagger it differently. I just think the fact that they were going at the same time.
Yeah, the shows are two very different vibes.
Yeah.
You can't have any version of the main show running alongside Bachelor in Paradise. Bachelor in Paradise just gets us through the off season.
Yeah.
Until we get to the Bachelorette and Bachelor run.
Speaking of, so Jess and I have talked about our next steps.
I'm so excited.
You guys, we're excited. Okay, so this is kind of what we're thinking. We're going to take a little bit of a break just because the next season of The Bachelor starts January 24th.
Yeah, sometime the second to last week of January.
So Joey's season starts late January. So we'll probably start an episode before that to talk about like the women on his season and pick, we won't pick our top 4 then, but like, start strategizing and learning about the women. And then probably the week before that, Rachel, aka Raquel from Vanderpump Rules, is releasing her podcast, Rachel Goes Rogue, and where she plans on promising to tell her side of the story. So we'd love to do a little recap on just what we hear from Rachel, and then get into The Bachelor, and then Vanderpump starts January 30th.
Yeah, and so we are thinking we'll cover both The Bachelor and Vanderpump Rules, similar to the way that we've covered Great British Bake Off and Bachelor in Paradise / a little bit of Golden Bachelor.
Yeah, so it'll be a 2 for each episode, and we're very excited about both shows, so it should be a blast.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I am ready for even more mess. I'm excited for Joey's season. I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
And we might do like a couple filler episodes if we feel inspired. But
yeah, talking with you.
Yeah.
The microphone in front of my face, always one of my favorite things. So if we do manage to get together and want to shoot the shit on a certain topic, I'd love that. But otherwise, it would be kind of nice to have a minute to have one less thing in the schedule week to week.
Yeah. So that's our plan, guys. I just want to say thank you so much if you have been on our Great British Bake Off and / Paradise / Golden Bachelor journey. This has been a fun twist, and we really appreciate anyone who has listened and been a part of it.
Yeah, we're very grateful for every listener we have, so thank you.
And we'll talk soon.
Bye.
Bye. Drama Bonded is produced and hosted by Mandy Booth and Jessica Brumbaugh. Our production manager and editor is Solomon Brumbaugh. Our theme music is by Joe Waters. You can find more of his music streaming on the EP Jupiter Daywatch. Music vocals by Mandy Booth. Graphic designer is Pigeon House. Thank you.